Hi, I'm Linda Kaye. Welcome to season 3 of Money Talk. The season that we're diving into has so many stories about resilience, so many stories about recovery, so many stories about building back better. And honestly, that's our theme this season. It reminds us that that resistance and resilience can look very similar, can't they? Resistance to something or resilience, and sometimes we even hear them in the same sentence. You were resistant to it and so resilient to it. But what resilience means in our context is the ability to get back up, right? I often use the expression of bouncing a ball, right? A tennis ball. A tennis ball goes through several tests, and how many times can it bounce that it comes back to the same spot? Well, for me, I don't want to come back to where I was. For me, resilience is I got to bounce back higher. I got to bounce back better. For many of you that understand where I'm at, or may not, I'll just share this briefly. At the beginning of the year, I lost my home to the Palisades fire. Living in it for over 30 years, I had a lot of stuff in this home. Oh God, look at that picture. And those palm trees, yeah, those are, think of those as candlesticks to light your house on fire, because that's what happened. It started on the second floor. But I loved this home, my piano, my outdoor kitchen, everything about it I just loved. It's gone. And in fact, what is also gone is the two almost $3 million equity. I was ready to retire. But we make plans and then God laughs. This is my new home, and that's my former home, because that's what happened to it. And honestly, it isn't the glossy version, but just the kind of resilience that comes out of being born in the trenches of life, the kind that demands everything that you have and then asks for some more. This is maybe 2 days or 3 days after the fire, and my daughter and I were on the property, and I looked back and I said, Elena, take a look at this. Bring that last picture back up, Karen. What was really surprising to me was the images, the lights. I had just put up new solar lights in the backyard, so you could actually see that there was some life back there. Why did some houses survive and many did not? The house behind me had just been rebuilt, so it was, built with better and built back better and stronger in ways that we could never have anticipated we needed to have. And now here we are, we're faced with this. When I lost my home, I learned something that I never expected. Survival isn't always loud. It certainly is not triumphant, unless you have a moment where you feel that triumph. And here in the backyard now, as I'm starting to rebuild, as I'm starting to put things back, as I'm starting to find that, yeah, there's hope, there is something more, it kind of takes your breath away. And then you start to breathe in this, sense of one breath at a time, one step at a time. And we've heard one brick at a time. Sometimes it's choosing to stand in the ashes and say, this is not where my story ends. It's got to keep going. We don't get to choose every battle. Certainly not every battle that life gives us. And if you live long enough, you're going to have a whole lot of battles. But we do choose whether we're going to keep fighting. And the truth is, people who rise again aren't the ones who had it the easiest. Think about that. I think about everything on my property was destroyed. All my gorgeous bougainvilleas, all those beautiful flowers, and they were burnt down to the ground. And in fact, my gardener said, let me just pull those out. And I'm like, you know what? They were there 30 years, and I really didn't take very good care of them. Let's leave them. Let's see if they survive. And take a look at this. He wanted to pull those gorgeous things out, and that is what gives me joy every time I come up to the property. So sometimes the advice that we get, sometimes the things that we're told, sometimes the best advice from the experts that tell us that we can do something or we shouldn't do something, or this is the answer. Well, guess what? They're not always right, are they? So they're the ones who have decided that their futures mattered more than their fear. I have an incredible guest today, and I am so thrilled to talk about her. But before we do that, I have 2 things I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to share this, like this, put it on your live stream, do something to help other people that are going through struggles, because we need to hear the message We need to hear the message that we're going to give out. That message, because we'll be right back.
I can show you how to be strong. Come on, follow me. Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up, look up, look up.
I do not know what happened to that, but let's try it again.
I can show you how to be strong. Come on, follow me. Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up, look up, look up, look up.
I got something to give. I have something to say. You know you got something to do.
Welcome to the stage, Linda Kaye.
Well, I have no idea what that was about, but I did not hear the audio. Give me a thumbs up if you guys heard it in the green room. Excellent. All right. Well, then you got to see it twice. Okay. Our guest today embodies the truth that we're talking about. After 24 years in a very abusive marriage, she finally broke free, but only to face another challenge, an even bigger fight, the fight for her life. A severe allergic reaction nearly took it, and her left leg. Doctors said there was no hope. Has anybody heard that before? There's no chance. Nothing survived. Don't even go there. Don't even try. Give up. Again, getting advice isn't always the best advice. We are our very own best doctors. They told her she was going to lose her leg, that walking again was impossible. But fortunately, some of us are built differently. Some souls refuse to surrender. And when life tries to write the ending, no, they pick up their pen and they keep going. For 18 months, she dulled that. She defied every single prognosis that said, nope, just give up. Go home. Let's just take your leg. She fought for her healing with grit, faith, and the kind of courage that you can only discover when you know there's no option left. Think about that. No option left. We've had a few people on this show. No option left. You got 45 minutes to live was one of our guest stories. But when there's no other choice except survival, you got a choice. You really do have a choice. I'm out. I don't need this anymore, or I'm going to keep going. And during that time, while she was learning how to walk, she published her books, kept her business going, and ignited a brand new passion, helping women rise from their own darkest chapters. You have to be in it to get through it. And when you get through it, you got a message. You've got to talk to somebody. You've got to tell other people that there is hope, because resilience isn't something that you just get or you just teach. It's something that you live, and it's something that she lived, bone deep, breath by breath. Please join me in welcoming to the stage, Nickell. Hi, Anne.
Hi there. Thank you so much for that
Okay,
intro.
now I don't hear you at all. Okay, hang on a second. Something's going on with my audio. Let's try that again. Hi, Anne.
Hello. How are you?
Finally. Okay, so we have technical issues and little gremlins in my studio today.
Well, thank you for that intro.
It is my great pleasure to talk to you. We are fellow and kindred soul sisters from the same family. KW of Keller Williams is a real estate agent. You're out in Waco, Texas. I'm here in California. I did leave that after a 15-year run with Keller Williams. I finally decided to go out on my own under open roads, but I understand the culture. I understand the joy. And in fact, KW Cares did care after my fire earlier this year and were able to reach out and help me. So, I know that the working with in an environment like that is really nurturing. It's helpful. It helps us understand that we're not alone, right?
Yes.
But after your 24 years of marriage, and we're going to set that aside because lots of people go through many issues, and we're going to talk about why and what the final straw was for you when you said, no more, I'm not doing that anymore. But when you found the courage to walk away from it, you nearly walk into the biggest disaster of your life. And I'm going to say nearly the biggest disaster, but it could be the biggest disaster in your life so far. But it ain't over till it's over, right?
Right.
So, not that I am, but I'm not trying to be a protagonist. I'm just trying to suggest that we think that we've been through everything and we have nothing left. You had something left, and at the end of that, when you think, "Oh my God, my marriage is over," what next? As you start over, how is it that you discover that you've got this infection and you go to the doctor? Talk to us about this.
Well, I got the flu one weekend. So just something common, not a big deal, except I was hurting. So I went to urgent care.
Hold on. Wait. The flu, common flu.
Common
You're
flu.
not feeling right? And then something in your leg hurts. Had you had any injury? Had you had an exercise you did too much or not enough of, or you were just laying in bed recovering and now you've got a leg ache and you go to urgent care?
Well, no, I went to urgent care because of the flu. They ran their tests, came back and said, sure enough, it was just the flu, nothing else wrong with me. But they gave me a prescription for a pain pill and an antibiotic. And the next day, after taking that first antibiotic, within 3 hours, I had lost feeling in both of my legs from the knees down and couldn't walk. Then I was rushed back in, got to the hospital. They ran more tests. And in less than 24 hours, my entire body, kidneys down, had filled with blood clots. So it was this horrible allergic reaction to the antibiotic that I got for the flu. So I was perfectly healthy until that. And so this horrible allergic reaction filled my body with blood clots. I went into emergency surgery, that cut open in both groins to go in, and they started pulling out blood clots. During surgery, my right leg went back to normal, but my left leg developed compartment syndrome. So that is when that body part, my leg, got so swollen from the pressure of the blood clots was about to burst. So the surgeon had to perform, they call it a double fasciotomy. He had to cut my left leg open on either side to relieve the pressure to try to save it. So this was the emergency surgery.
You're in surgery at this time. Is anybody there with you, family member, anybody because once you go under, you're like, okay, I'm at your mercy. Whatever you guys find, I'm on my own. You guys can do whatever you want, right? That's got to be a scary sensation, a scary feeling. Had anybody warned you that this could happen or warned you what was going on in your body?
No.
You had absolutely no idea.
No. When they discovered how serious it was with the CT scan, they rushed me in, and I was already sort of under. And all I remember them telling me is, we need to get you into surgery immediately. And then I was out, and that was it until I woke up. And so for me, my first miracle was the fact that I woke up. Because when I did wake up in the ICU, the surgeon told me what had happened, explained everything to me. And one of the first things he said was, I've never seen that many blood clots in one person in all my years of surgery. You are lucky to be alive. And so my first, thought was, okay, thank you, God, I'm alive. But then he went on to tell me what had happened with my leg. He said, here's what happened. This is what I did to save it, but it didn't work. Your leg and foot are dead, and we are preparing to amputate.
Okay.
And that's what I woke up to.
Now. I went into surgery with a solid leg. You mean I'm going to come out and not have one? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Now, back up just a little bit. What medication had you been given, and had you had any prior symptom or allergic reactions to medication before?
Oh, I am allergic to a lot of medications. But, they usually will try one and then I find out, but never.
Right. I'm the guinea pig, right?
Yes, I'm the guinea pig. But I'd never had, of course, that sort of reaction. It was usually the normal reaction of you break out in hives or you swell up a bit. That's what you deal with. So this was something completely different. And
this isn't just something completely different. This is horrific.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. So
Yep.
Anne, when you're wheeled out of surgery and they tell you, oh, surgery's not over yet, you're going back in just a few minutes, what was your instant thought?
Well, thankfully, because of what my body had been through, they were going to wait 2 days. So I was told we're preparing to amputate, but, there were so many blood clots and they wanted to run more tests, do another angiogram to check behind my heart and lungs to make sure they had got everything, because they didn't want to put me through something else and risk a blood clot bursting, during another surgery. So they got me out, told me what they were planning, but then, okay, we need to take this time to do these other things to make sure that part is okay. And then, we'll do the amputation. So I was given 2 days.
Okay. So now you have this spontaneous blood clotting disorder caused, as far as you can tell, from the incredibly wrong diagnosis or prescription medication. And we'll get to what you do with this afterwards. But right now you're fighting for survival. We've had a guest on here, believe it or not, Anne, from Texas, that has experienced something, not because of a medication, but spontaneous, where he was put on some sort of a life support, bypassing his heart and his lungs, and them sifting these blood clots out. Did something along this level happen, or did they just simply thin your blood so much that the clots would work themselves out? I mean, how were they catching these things? If you're producing this and it's spontaneous, how does it end?
I honestly don't know how that part worked. I just know that, when they ran that CT scan, they discovered all of them and then went in and whatever they do to remove them, like I said, they cut me in both groin areas and went in and were just going in and pulling out blood clots. And he told me, he was doing this. You have to do it in the right way, but also feeling, it's urgent because trying to get all of them out before one of them would burst. That was the goal, because if one of them had burst, that could have ended my life. And there were so many. So
an aneurysm. So
yes.
And not to mention the fact that it's sifting through one side of your body, going back into the other side of the body. So it could literally, on its way up to the brain, cause a stroke, or on its way through the heart, cause a heart attack, right?
Yes.
So they're working to fight the battle, and they're out on the battlefield. They're doing everything they can. You get to your room now and you're like, okay, God, I did not plan for this one. Okay, yes. What up with that, right? Mm-hmm. What's the conversation going on in here?
Oh, it was, well, I think a lot of it was shock, and maybe that's one of the things that helped me. But knowing that I had survived, first of all, I started thanking God for that. And then I tried to focus just on staying as positive as I could to not let anything negative, come in. And I just kept praying. And I thanked God for one miracle. And then I kept praying and asking him for one more, please, just one more. And that's what I did for 2 days.
That you were asking for? Give me an idea, because sometimes we go, God, just give me one more day, give me one more hour, fix this one problem, help me meet my rent. What is that pleading that we're having now at this messenger to carry to God?
Save my leg. Please save me and save my leg. And that's what I kept doing. But I also, this is something I had learned from watching. I don't know if you've ever read The Secret or watched the movie, but that is something that I watch often, and it's really helped along with my faith. It's helped my mindset. And so something I learned in there was to picture something as you want it to be. So as I was praying, I had this image, and I'm not sure why that particular image popped in my head, but my now hubby, boyfriend at the time, our first date, he had taken me to the park here in Waco. And for some reason, that image popped into my head, and I kept picturing us in the park, walking hand in hand, my body fully intact, all body parts there, walking normal, happy. And it was so alive in my mind, that was the vision. And I just kept holding on to it and praying and asking God, please make this vision real. Save me and save my leg. And that's what I focused on for 2 days.
And now you go back into surgery. They're expecting to do an amputation. Tell me what happens next.
Well, thankfully, they were keeping an eye on me and doing these, just checks every, several hours. And my foot had, since it was dead, had become that black and blue and purple, marbled color that shows you it's dead. So they would come in and check. On the third day, before my night nurse left, he came in one more check. And when he threw back the blankets, he'd got this look on his face. And I saw him first, the look, and then I looked down and my color had returned. So on the day they're planning to do this, my color first came back. So he ran and they call it a Doppler, which is what they listen to, listen for a pulse. So he ran and got the Doppler.
They're listening for blood flow is what they're listening.
They're listening for a pulse. And for 2 days, there had been no pulse. Everything showed that my leg and foot were dead. And the color came back. He listened and he found one faint pulse. And by the time he got the surgeon in there later, which he was, I think in surgery. So it was about an hour before he came in. By the time he came in and listened, they found 2 pulses, which is what they look for. And so now, before they can go in and do this surgery, I got my second miracle. My leg and foot miraculously came back to life. They had no explanation.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So you're ready to jump for joy. This is the miracle that just seemed against all odds, impossible. But, God does deal in the impossibilities, right?
He does.
Oh my goodness. This is incredible. Now, tell me about the recovery. It's one of the interesting things about recovery. When something tragic happens, people have sort of a short-term attention span for our difficulties or for the things that we're going through. And yet you and I both know that in recovery takes longer than we expected. You have setbacks. You have things that are, I just had to pull my coach off of my property and take all of the concrete off. And when I thought things were going to be normal and put back on, somebody brought it in and it sank 2 feet and I had to pull it back. We don't plan for these things, but we have to expect that there will be setbacks. Were there setbacks?
Oh yeah, yes, there were, but it was mostly dealing with the list of grim prognoses that they gave me. Because at that moment, I got my miracle, and the next thing I knew, I had a room full of surgeons, doctors, nurses, everyone trying to figure out what had happened.
They're curious. You're like,
curious. Yeah, so it was amazing. But then
this wasn't supposed to happen.
No, it wasn't. So they were all in shock, and of course, I'm laying there, going, it was a miracle. I know what it was. But then the surgeon came around, to the side of my bed and said to me, well, you get to keep your leg, but you might have been better off with a prosthetic. I said, what? It completely caught me off guard. I just couldn't understand. What do you mean by this? And he said, well, if it had been a break or a torn ligament, we understand those things. And we know I could give you an exact date on when something would heal. But with nerve damage, which I had in that leg now from where he had to cut it open, that we don't know enough about it. And I don't know if or when you will ever get your feeling back. It's going to be very hard for you to learn how to walk without feeling. And you will probably, most definitely, be a gimp the rest of your life.
This is
And that,
and at that point you go, okay, I can walk with feeling, or I can keep walking without feeling. Which, you have to laugh at this prognosis. You have to, not only is it stupid and tragic, but it's like, you got to be joking me. Come on now. You can't be serious. And yet they are. And these are the experts. Now, I get why they tell us that we can't. I get why they tell us we can't give you an exact date. I get that. But doggone it, doesn't that take away from some of your hope? I mean, my mom had a surgeon, and she began to lose her sight. Mom's blind. But as she began to lose her sight, she would see this doctor frequently enough that I went with her. And she would say, I believe I'm going to have a miracle. I believe I'm going to see again. And it almost as if he was taunting her. After about several months, he just said, so how's that miracle going? Right? How dare somebody gash our belief, our hope? And thank you for saying this, because, Anne, people need to understand that there will be temptation to believe the other side. There will be, when we don't see a fact that tells us something different. You can't argue with the fact, but you can argue with an emotion, and an emotional response that says, you probably won't, is an opinion.
Yeah.
There is nothing factual about that. In the same way that we can't say, I'm going to have a miracle. That's a belief. That's a value system. That's a belief system. That isn't an opinion. It's a belief.
Right.
So how dare the person that strikes down your view of your faith? But sometimes, and look at it in another way, that it's potentially a test. Do you really believe? How strong is your faith? What are you going to believe? Are you going to believe them? Because if you believe them, then you give up, don't you?
Yes.
Tell me what happened next.
Okay. Well, he went on to tell me more things. Along with that, there's more. That the wounds were huge, and one of them had torn a little after he had cut it. And so he told me these wounds will not heal on their own without plastic surgery, which would have meant, skin grafts off of my thighs, more surgery, more healing. And so before I even left the hospital, he had the plastic surgeon come in to look everything over, to tell me, her prognosis and what it would take, how long the healing would be. So I have that thrown at me as well. So all these things happening. And then he told me, once again, we don't know if your feeling will ever come back. It may not. And so your life is going to be difficult. And so along with that, it's going to be hard for you to learn how to walk. And if you don't get your feeling back at the year mark, don't expect to ever get it back. So suddenly there was a deadline on top of it. Okay, he says, I'm not going to learn how to walk again. I'm going to have more surgeries to heal these wounds. And, I may never get my feeling back. So just all of these things just piled on one after the other. And so there's a beauty
in what you're just saying. Because if you think about, I'm going to walk, if our conscious knew we have to take a step, or so much of what we do as humans in that human form is subconscious, right? Because our subconscious is saying, move one foot in front of the other. Our subconscious says, take a breath while we're asleep. Our subconscious is doing all of this. So the memory, and probably 90% of our own human behavior is run subconsciously. So we've got a program within us running. You're hearing they want to change that, and you're not taking it. You're not having it.
Nope. No, I decided I wasn't. And so once I finally got out of the hospital, started making arrangements for physical therapy, for wound care therapy, and started focusing on those things because I know, God will perform the miracles, but what a lot of people forget is we also have to do the work. And so I knew he gave me this chance, but I was going to have to work at it. I was going to have to keep on believing beyond the 2 miracles and do this for myself. And so I put my mind to it. I put out what they said. I didn't let anything negative come in. And when I started physical therapy, they kind of laughed a little, not really at me, but a little bit at first because of the deadline I gave them. Because I actually my sisters came and picked me up, took me to Iowa, and I stayed with my mom for several months because I couldn't get the care I needed here. Mainly because they could bring a bus to my door, but I had to be able to walk out to the bus to go to my care. Well, I was using a walker. I couldn't walk and I couldn't get down those steps on my own. And my body had been through so much that after about every 5 to 10 feet, I would turn green and almost pass out. I would have to take a break. Sure. I mean, it was an awful first few months. So I went to Iowa. I was there with my mom. And when I first went in, my mom was getting respiratory care from my sister, believe it or not, in the very same spot. So they arranged our times together. So she get her care and I'd get my physical therapy. And so my sister was working there. And after that first day, my sister told me, the physical therapist asked, they said, is she serious? Because I told them, I want to be back home by this date because my now hubby, then boyfriend, he was going to be graduating from college. And I wanted to walk in and be there to see him walk the aisle to graduate. And so I gave them a deadline. And they said,
hold on right there. I think for our listeners need to understand that whether it's a birthday and you've been given, 3 months to live and your birthday's out 6 months, or an anniversary, there's an event. There is something that takes place in our body, in our subconscious, that says there's something more that I have to reach for. Then I don't have the ability to do. I don't know how. I know the what, but I don't know how. And the why has to be there or you're not going to do it. Yes. The why. He's graduating. That's my why. That's my big why. And you may change your big why from time to time because your big why achieved its goal. But we keep stepping forward. You make it to the graduation, I'm going to take it. And on the interest of time, I cannot believe that the story that you're telling me is unraveling, gets you finally back to home. But you've developed this philosophy of upside thinking. Can you share what that means and how others can apply it to their own lives?
Sure. Yeah. Several things in my life, the emotionally abusive marriage to this event, I started seeing a pattern that when I could look at something, what I, started calling the downside, there's so many things that have a downside that I realized there's an opposite to it, just like everything else in life. So, for every night, there's a day. Yeah.
For every up, there's a down.
There's a down.
Right.
And so I started looking at it that way, that, okay, this is the down moment. What is the upside of that moment? What is the silver lining? And if you, even in your darkest times, if you can find just a sliver, just a little sliver of light in that and focus on that upside of it, then that will make everything better because you'll start to see more. If you focus on good, you'll find more good. And that's what I learned. I focused on gratitude. I focused on goodness. And so even though things were tough, I would focus on one little thing. Like I had no feeling, for 18 months, but one day I could move my big toe. And it may sound strange to other people, but for me, it was, I just moved my big toe and I celebrated it. In fact, I videoed, and sent it to everybody, like this is a major celebration. So,
why do we celebrate, that first step or the first tooth or the, whatever it is for the child. And then we forget as an adult that, we have first steps ourselves.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You took a big step though. And I want to now come back to that 24-year marriage, abusive marriage. You finally decide one day, and it's the it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. What was it that in you said, not one more time? Not one more time. Because it's what gives you that, it gives you the, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go. And I don't care what that looks like in the future. Had you known what future would look like and you're going to nearly lose your leg, would you have made the same choice?
Oh, yeah. I think because there was so much negativity in my life with that, I didn't need that. In fact, he called me while I was in the hospital that first week. And it turned from him saying he called because he cared to just, it went negative quick. And so, I was able to, I was able to turn it off, hang up the phone. And so if I had still had that negativity in my life, things could have been different. I may not have handled everything the same way. And so, yes.
So he was the leg that you amputated, if you want to look at it in another way.
Yes. I got all that
better and stronger and a lot better. Now, you have absolutely no prior speaking experience, but somewhere, whether it's the billboard that you passed or, something that you saw in a post, you suddenly decide, I could speak in front of 10,000 people. That would scare the hell out of me, but 10,000 people, and it's a contest. What inspired you? What was that grain of sand behind the contact lens that said, I got something to say, I better get up and tell as many, and the audience is put in front of you? Talk to me about this.
Well, the reason I went after that, I did see the competition and thought, I've never spoken on a stage, but this sounds like fun. It was because of something one of my mom's friends, her mechanic friend, actually told me while I was in Iowa. And, he had come in, took care of my car, the small town thing, very helpful. But he saw me laying there, leg up, wrapped in bandages, and wanted to hear the story. And when I finished telling him what had happened, he just straight at me said, God pulls from the pit, not the pulpit. You now have a testimony and you need to find out how to share it with others.
Oh my gosh.
And it hit me so hard. Oh my gosh, he's right. God kept me here for a reason. And so, one, I need to figure out what that reason is. And two, I need to share this testimony, this story with others to give others hope, to inspire them in their darkest moments, not to give up. That as long as you are still here on this earth, you have time. You have time to change things around. You have time to make an impact. You have time to realize those goals and dreams that you've put aside for years. And so I knew I had to do something with it. And so then I think things were sort of falling into place because I saw that advertised. And that's sort of what I said to myself. Well, here's something I haven't done. It scares the heck out of me, but it's worth a shot. If I don't take the shot, if I don't try, I will regret it later. And one thing I learned from being given a second chance at life is that don't pass up those opportunities. Don't miss out, because you won't regret trying. It might be scary. You might feel bad if you fail, but as long as you're trying, you're not failing. And so I went for it. I went and I auditioned, over 1,000 people at my location. And I was one of the 30 people out of over 1,000 that was given a golden ticket and got to go on to the semifinals in Miami. I made a whole fun trip out of that, took something off the bucket list and traveled the Florida Keys for a few days before the competition, dug my toes in the sand and grounded and prayed there, under the night sky. And just, every chance I get to do something, I take it. And, I didn't win the competition. Of course, I was up against professional speakers who were already being paid to speak. But I learned a lot about speaking. I met so many amazing people. I've made new connections that have led to other things in my business. So it's like, even if you don't reach that one goal, look at all the things you meet on the way. Once again, that's looking at the upside. I didn't win, but look at what I got out of it. Look at all the people I met. Look at the experience.
Listen, there's no doubt in my mind, if you had set your sights on winning the competition, you would have won the competition. That wasn't your goal. Your goal was to reach as many people with your message. That was your goal, and you more than achieved it. You're like a mega achiever. Look at you go, girl.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
now, after 20 years of being in the real estate business, and you're now coaching women in transformation. So how do you integrate your business experience into your coaching?
Well, being in real estate for 20 years, I've done a lot of different things. And one thing I did for a
Haven't we
while,
all?
yeah, we do. We go through a lot of different stages. And
Right.
one thing I did for a while was teach new agents. I worked with new agents. I coached them, worked with them on getting their businesses started, mostly on the tech side. But once they got to know me, then they would come in and start asking other questions. What about this? And what about this? And then I started teaching contract classes and, all these different things. And I loved it. I loved just working with people and helping people in some way. So
Sure,
I
of
think
course.
that's sort of how I think it translated over, is that I already knew I had a love of helping others in some way. And so with my real estate, sort of back end business that I have now, helping real estate agents basically do all the things they don't want to do, doing, the contracts and listings and social media and marketing and all those things. That's what I now do. And, and I feel like, it's one little way I'm helping them in their business. And so with the coaching of other women, it's sort of the same thing. If I can take my experience, my knowledge, the lessons I've learned, and be able to take that and help someone else, make their life better, that's what I want to do. And so I've just sort of taken, but instead of business, now it's helping women, and
So
basically women my age.
So you've made the mistakes so they don't have to.
Exactly. Or, I've walked that path. If there's a woman going through divorce, I've been there. If there's a woman going through tragedy or trauma, I've been there. A woman who may have lost someone, I've been there too. So all these things, and instead of just hiding it and keeping it to myself, why not use it to help others who are going through the same thing, to make maybe what they're going through a little bit easier. And so that's
you're
the
also
focus
helping. You're helping them rewrite their narrative, right? Because
Yes.
again, that subconscious mind is taking all of this in, saying, we don't have to think about taking one step after another. But when we have to get up in here, consciously thinking about it, that's where we start making the mistakes, when our subconscious. And so putting the right frame, putting the right message in that subconscious is really critical. So key.
Yep.
Looking back now on your life so far, and you're a young woman yet, what's the biggest upside you found in once, in what once felt like your darkest chapter?
Just with the mindset changes and learning about, positivity, focusing on gratitude, I have such freedom in my life now. And my life isn't perfect, as I don't think anyone's is. I'm still not where I would love to be. So every day is a new lesson. Every day I take one step forward towards, the life that I do want. And the freedom in that is where I'm at now. I love the fact that I, no longer am allowing anyone to hold me back from that. If there's something I want to do, I do it.
Good.
And if I fail, it's on me, and I will get back up, dust myself off, and I will try again.
Fail forward.
It's that freedom of being able to do those things, realizing that even though, yes, I'm middle-aged now, my life isn't over. There's still so many things I can do with it. And I have now that freedom to do it. It's my life. I get to live my life as I see fit. And
I'm hearing Billy Joel in it's my life, right?
Yes, exactly.
So,
it's my life. Yes.
I think you have a few things for us to talk about right now. We're just about out of time, so I want to give you a platform for you to be able to promote your book. You've not only just written one book, two books, but three, and you've got something for our audience to feel good about themselves and to sort things out. So, can you talk about your complimentary giveaway?
Yes, the giveaway is the Wheel of Life workbook. And the Wheel of Life is a good way to get started on figuring out where you are right now and where you want to be, and then to be able to take those next steps. So you start out figuring out where you are in these different areas of life. And, so you kind of color in the chart, where am I now? And if you aren't to a 10 yet, what can I do to get there? And so it gives you a starting point and then a guide on how to get there. It talks about building your vision, building a life script for your life so you can take those steps on how to get there. So
that's awesome. I love this. This is like that little map at the mall. It says you are here.
Yes. Yes,
right.
You are right here. And
if
you may
you want to get over there, here's your step to get over there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you may have one part of your life that is at a 10. Your relationship part might be fantastic, but your money part might be maybe halfway there or down, or your hobbies and so you get to see all these different areas and where you stand. So now you know how to make a plan to make it better. Those areas that are missing, how can I make them better?
So grab you get out your camera and go follow that QR code up on the screen. Karen, can you roll a couple of things for us on how to find her book and how to get a hold of Anne so you can get your life together? So you've got Time Traveler's Guide to Fort Worth, Where the West Begins.
Yeah, that was the first book I wrote while I was recuperating. That was the first
awesome. Book. All right. Is there a website or something that they can capture all of this if they don't have their phones in front of them? They're busy watching me. So there we go.
Very good. Yep. AnnCKNickell.com.
www.AnnNickell with a K, K-N-I-K, so you can kick it on down, Nickell.com. Anne, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm just so thrilled about the story, about the message, the resilience, and damn it, not listening to people that just don't have your thought and the best of where you're going to go. You don't just do that. You've got a few things else. You sell stuff at the Etsy shop. You sell stuff at the Life Coach Corner. You a busy person. Yes, God had plans for you and many more plans for you as well. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. And thank you all for just staying with us and staying tuned with the message about how to build your life bigger and better than where it was. Stay with us. And if you have something that you want to be a guest on or know someone, share this information with them. Don't keep this to yourself. Have a best and brightest future. See you soon. Season 3 of Money Talk isn't just about money. It's about recovery, resilience, and expansion, so you can build back better. Your house doesn't have to burn to the ground, but if your business or your life has, and you're ready to share your story, I want to talk to you. Contact me at LindaK360 or call me at 424-395-2885. Remember, your setback is a setup for a comeback, and I promise you'll inspire others to get back up one more time with your story.